Hi everyone, this is Sharon. I am excited today to show you my very first design team project for Gi Kerr Happiness in Crafting. The kit I selected for my February project is this Vintage Botanical kit. And since I love botanicals so much, I was immediately drawn to this one. And it is a pretty good size kit. It comes with 6 journaling pages. Really nice variety of colors on those too, and they're really layered up nice with kind of a collage background, some script and advertising. Pretty flowers. There's dragonflies and butterflies on some of them. I really like the pink and red on this one. And then it also comes with 4 background pages. These are in a sepia tone, and they're easily able to write on those. And they make good backgrounds for collage work and tags and things like that. Oops. This one. And then the kit also has some ephemera pages. So here you've got some corner tucks, tabs, circles. And then there are some journaling cards or whatever you want to use these for. Sometimes I like using these for pockets and other purposes as well. And then more journaling cards and some pockets, little circles. And then a sheet with some large tags and these little strips on the bottom. So really a lot to work with. And what I did for my project was I made this journal, and I'll probably have a lot to say about this journal because it's a little bit different than what I would typically construct for a journal. So I'll kind of step you through what I did, and if you have any questions about anything that I did in this journal, just shoot me a question and I'll try to answer it as best I can. So I was trying to think about what I wanted to make, and I wanted to do something a little bit different than my typical style journal. And several years ago, I had constructed a journal where the pages were just loosely set in and tied up with a string. And I thought I would want to try that again with maybe a little bit of a variation. So that's what I did for this one. The cover looks more like maybe an envelope or an attaché, something like that. It does flap over, and I constructed the cover from a file folder. The file folder I used was a dark green one. This is a remnant, and then the back side has this tan to it. And I actually used a little bit of both sides in putting this together. So on the back is just the plain file folder finish, and then this flap I did something a little bit different. I gave it a leather look, and what I did was I took a piece of the file folder and I actually soaked it in water for a while, probably about a half an hour I would say, and then I crumpled it up into a little ball several times, and then I laid it out flat to dry. And then once it was dry, I put a wax finish on it, and then I let that wax kind of soak in and dry off for about 24 hours. And then after that, it was pretty malleable and soft. I was able to mold it around the corner. And then I folded it over on itself, so that's where you get the lighter color from the inside of the file folder, and then the darker green here. And then I just did some stitching on it as well. And then I bound this up with a pretty seam binding ribbon, kind of a muted lavender. It's scrunched up a little bit, and I tied that on to an eyelet on the flap. And then the front cover, I did some collaging. So this is one of the journal pages from the kit, and then just layered on a number of different things. So this was some of that file folder that I just used a paper punch and punched that out. And then I layered on this piece of old book page where I did a little bit of stenciling with some molding paste. And then down here, I added a piece of lace, some linen that I stamped with a stamp, and then more lace and a little bit of ledger paper. And then underneath it all is a time card. And I've got a number of these old time cards. They're vintage. And I actually ended up using these time cards for my book pages, so you'll see that inside. So as we step inside, on the front cover, I used this corner tuck at the top to hold in these papers. That's from the kit. And then on the inside front cover, I used this old piece of antique lace to make a pocket. So in there, I just tucked a few extra pieces of different pages that can be used to write on. So this is a page from a botanical book, and I just added a piece of vintage paper and taped that on with some washi. So that offers some more journaling space. And then this is also one of the journaling pages that I just printed on this lightweight cream paper. And punched the edge of that. And then this is also one of the background pages that I printed. And I just printed that onto newsprint paper, so it offers quite a bit of journaling space on the back. My thought was with this journal that it would make a perfect gardener's log or gardening journal. And the way I set it up, it has a lot of flexibility in how you can use it. So in here, I created these flaps, and they are also made from the file folder. So here I stitched on a panel of that faux leather treatment that I did. And then I just created a couple of round circles on there for the closure. Used some hemp string. And then those flap open. And this is where I keep the journal pages, and they're actually tied in. They're loosely bound. So I'm calling this a loose leaf journal because it basically is like a stack of loose leaf paper. They're not stitched in or anything like that. They're just tied in with this ribbon. And then these flaps kind of hold everything in. And so on the inside of the flaps, I'll have to turn this sideways. I just, keeping with the gardening theme, took some public domain images of some architectural drawings of gardens on there, and then on this top flap as well. Okay, so if we look at the actual journal pages, I'll untie that. They all can pull out, and as you can see, they're loose and individual. So if we just look at the inside of this journal cover, this is one of the background pages again that I printed. And because this journal, it's 4 1/4 by 9 inches, because it is 9 inches, it doesn't fit the widthwise on my paper. So I actually had to print 2 of these and then line them up and stitch them together. So I had a large enough piece to fit inside there. And then this is the inside of that flap. I just did a little bit of a decorative punch to that. So if we look at the pages, what I did, as I mentioned before, each page is, the base is a time card. And these are vintage time cards that I have in my stash. And what I did with the journal pages in this kit, something a little bit different, I did some image transfers. So I'm not sure if people are familiar with that, but the technique I used for these transfers is I printed these images or these pages onto regular copy paper. And then I use for my transfers this, it's a roll of contact brand paper. And so on one side there's a matte, clear, like plastic type finish. And then on the other side there's this paper backing that you peel off. And so what you do is peel off that backing and image size side down, take your digital image that you printed and stick it to this contact paper. And what I usually do is burnish it on real well. And then I soak it in water for 15 to 30 minutes, something like that. And then you rub off the paper off the back side of the contact paper, and what you have left is the image on the clear contact paper. And so I took those images and glued them onto these punch cards. And what I like about that is you can see all the printing in the background comes through the lines, some of the text from the time card, and that goes through the image of the flowers. And so what I did on these is I combined that with some collaging. So on each one there's some stenciling on old book pages. And then on the fronts and the backs, I incorporated quite a number of Gi's, what she calls Friday freebies. So if you belong to her Facebook group, and I'll have the link of her Facebook group down below, on Fridays, she provides the members with some free digitals. And there are just some really lovely ones in her Friday freebies. So I've combined those with this kit just to be able to do some collaging and layering. And then on this little piece of linen, I stamped a little flower. And then each page has a tab at the top, and I use the tabs from the kit and some of the circles. And for a couple of them, I actually use these buttons as well. So in one of her Friday freebies, she's got these button images, which I absolutely love. And for some reason, I just love round tabs on the tops of pages and cards and tags. So I incorporated some of those. So my thought with this is, if you use this as a gardener's log or a gardening journal, I left the name at the top blank, and there are numbers on here as well. So you could say you were planting various plants in your garden, vegetables or flowers or whatever. You could put the name of that plant on the top. And then on the back of every page, I left room for journaling. And what makes this so flexible and so nice is you can just take one of these pages, take it outside with you, do your journaling, your observations, whatever you want to write, and then bring it back in. And because they're not bound in, you can put these in any order you want. If you decide, I really don't want to use this as a journal, I want to take these out and use them all individually in other projects, you've got quite a number. I've got 16 pages, so you've got quite a number of these that you can use as tags or journaling cards or bookmarks, whatever have you, in other projects as well. So pretty flexible, and that's kind of what I wanted to achieve with this project. So if we step through each page, on the backs I also did some collaging with the, this one has grid paper, but they all have some space to write. I also took some more of the file folders and did some paper punching on those. This is from one of Gi's Friday freebie kits. And then I added some of my own ephemera on these too. So this is a stamp. And then this is actually another page from the kit that I just did an image transfer. Here's the second page. The back of that one. And then on a lot of these tabs, I also just layered those up with a little bit of coffee dyed cheesecloth. And then this one with the cute little bee on the top. And this is a Friday freebie. I'm gonna trip on that. And then I also did, again, some stencils with the paste. And then the back of that one. And I really I'm a kind of person who really likes to mix and match colors and patterns and things. So all the various colors on these really lend themselves nicely. Here's one of those buttons, and I just attached that actually to this piece of lace with a little bit of floss just to make it a little more realistic. And then on some of these I added some vintage map paper, some washi on this one. And then this page. And the back side of that one. Hopefully you can see it. I might be getting a little too close there. And then this one again. I basically used every single journal page and cut them into strips to fit these cards. This was a lot of fun. I love working in this type of a journal because it's very freeing. You have each individual sheet without it being bound, so you can work on them nicely. And then the back side of that one, I kind of mixed up the punches and the papers, so there's a nice variety. What's interesting about these punch cards too, some of them have these little corners punched out depending on how many times they punched at the clock, and then you can see some of the punches from the time clock show through as well. And I also combined some of my old laces, add some nice texture to the pages. And I'm hoping one of these months I will get the courage up to maybe do a craft with me or a tutorial or something like that. I haven't done anything like that yet. It's mostly just showing what I've done, mainly because I'm such a slow crafter and it takes me forever to make a decision. So it would take a bit of planning on my part. But I told G that's one of my goals for this year, is to start doing a little bit more of that. It's a little more interactive. I know a lot of people prefer that. And then this is the last page. And I was thinking too, with this style of journal, you could use it for other purposes as well. I thought this would lend itself really well to, say, a travel journal, where maybe you would want to have all these loose individual pages, and then you write about each day or each location on a different page, and you could take it out and just have that one sheet with you as opposed to the whole thing. You could get pretty creative in doing something like this. So get that attached up and close it back up. So that is my very first project for G, and it was a load of fun. Can't wait to see what's in store for next month. But for now, that's what I have for today. So thank you for joining me, and until next time, bye-bye.